just in case you want to go through it again. So this is Tuckman's team development model. So forming is the stage where the team members first come together. So everyone's quite nice and polite and inquisitive and normally motivated. Storming is the second stage where they start to dig a little deeper and start to realize maybe the weaknesses of those people that work alongside them, or that their strengths their opportunities are not being met, or the hierarchy is different than they expected it to be. All the things that you will have experienced within a team. Norming is where it sort of goes beyond that. Everyone starts to sort of settle down. They start to function as a team. They start to understand, maybe back to Belbin's preferred roles, SWOT analysis. You as a leader will be taking charge and dealing with the storming elements of it, ironing out problems, overcoming challenges and conflict, improving communication. And so we'll see like a plateau. Where we want to reach ideally is performing. So this is where it's functioning and at a high performance level. Okay. Later on, there was another stage added, which is called adjourning. So this is when the team may break up when the required task is complete. So this one's Tuckman's. Now, this is in terms of a project that you will maybe deliver. So this was something you would use for a project. In the workplace is this. So this is the 5 stages of Tuckman's model. Okay, so over here, we've got the forming. Okay, and I'll come back to this in a wee second. This is, again, where everyone's been nice, polite, etc., etc. Then we go down to the storming. So this is where productivity and effectiveness is low because everyone's so busy, you know, with conflict or unsure of themselves. Confidence is generally low, areas like that. Then we move up towards norming here, which again, as I explained, the plateau, hopefully as an effective leader, you know, some of these areas have been ironed out. You might use SWOT analysis. You might use Belbin's preferred team roles. You might start to use effective feedback, effective communication to try and get your team to the norming stage. And then generally, I'm saying very generally, once you are in the norming stage, it'll go 2 ways. So either you'll get to the performing stage, okay, which is ideally, in theory, where we want to be, or we will go to the adjourning stage. Now, the reason we had this 5th stage was brought in was because it's not really a cycle of 4 stages. We need to add in the adjourning because this is where the team changes. So this is where someone leaves or a new person begins. And that would be within the context of reality, what would happen in your workplace. So this is kind of like a break in the cycle. And once this happens, it generally goes back to the forming stage again, because everyone, you know, is unsure of themselves again. You might have, I suppose, different groups within work, and everybody has to start to come together again. Now, the idea is the more we understand our team, the more we can do the SWOT analysis and development and effective communication and managing stress and conflict, is that we don't stay in the storming stage for as long as we would have the first time. We want to move quickly to the norming and the performing stages. And again, as the cycle continues, it goes round and round, then we try and reduce it every time. So this is the theory that I suppose in any team management, we would absolutely want to be at the norming or the performing stages. And once the adjourning stage happens, we want to be aware of it and we want to start the cycle again. What's your feedback on Tuckman's team development stages?
Yeah, I suppose it makes sense too, because whenever, like, I can see what you're saying about the story.
So SMART goals, you may have come across these before, you may not have. These are a model which we would use to allocate and assure the quality of work. So this is a model that we would use for your learning outcome, be able to allocate and assure the quality of work. What we're looking at here is we are combining delegation, motivation, empowerment, and then the quality of work. How are we doing that? Okay, so if, for example, on a Monday, I set Kelly and Sophie tasks from Monday to Friday, they are specific, so not vague. They are measurable, so 25% of the client's files should be reviewed by Friday, for the sake of argument. Achievable, I look at Kelly and Sophie's workload and their ability and their understanding, and are they able to achieve this? Realistically, are Kelly and Sophie going to be pulled in to do additional shifts this week? Do we have staff off sick? Do we have new staff? Is that a realistic goal? And then timely. So I'm using the week as an example for how we would time that. Now, of course, we can use it for a day. We could use it for a morning. We could use it for a month. But this is where, if I'm delegating to Kelly and Sophie, and I am delegating like more regular tasks, which will be just on an ongoing basis, but then I'm maybe looking at one or two additional tasks that I would like to explore in terms of your development. So if I'm setting SMART goals, first I'm delegating them either from me or from someone else. So that's freeing up time. Very difficult to get effective delegation. It's a whole art in itself, but that's for another day. What am I also doing? I am motivating, I hope, because you are starting to gain mastery, which is called mastery, which is learning new skills, a fancy word for learning new skills. I'm also given autonomy over those tasks. What do I mean by that? You will probably know that term from within the care industry, but I'm not micromanaging you. I'm stepping back and saying, I will see you on Friday. I'll check in with you on Wednesday, make sure everything's okay. If you have any questions, I'm not standing over your shoulder. So I'm giving you the autonomy to go away and do those tasks. Empowerment, you're starting to understand that you were keen to do these tasks. I've given you the opportunity to do these tasks, and therefore you feel empowered that you are being trusted with those and that I'm not micromanaging. So there's a difference between me giving you work and then standing over your shoulder for 5 days. That's not going to be empowering. In fact, that's probably going to have a negative effect on you. But that should be empowering you. Like, I'm trusting you to go off and do that task or that job. And then lastly, we can see the quality of work. So if we sat down on Friday and there was 19% of the client files have been audited for the sake of argument, then we look at, okay, 19% as opposed to 25%, it's still a good achievement. We want to review that the quality is there. So we want to make a trusting environment, a trustful and good, productive working relationship for you to say, Ciara, I got pulled in because there was an inspection or a family came in, and there's reasons why, but it's a positive conversation. It shouldn't be, guys, where's the other 6%? You're going to lie, you're going to get demotivated, you're not going to want to take tasks the next time. What we're looking at there is the reasons why there was unforeseen circumstances, you were off a day sick, and then we're looking at the quality of work. So it's a good feedback, two-way conversation to say, well, you're not afraid or you don't feel nervous or there's not a power struggle there. You're able to say, listen, this is why it didn't get done. However, moving on to next week, I think that here, and here, because I have extra staff in on Tuesday and Thursday, I could make up 4% of that 6%. Much better to be realistic about these things than not. So there we're using SMART goals to motivate, delegate, empower, upskill, and we're using that as a positive feedback in terms of how to keep those things still going on a continuous basis. So that's what we would use SMART goals for. You will see in many leadership and management classes, SMART goals, a bit like SWOT analysis, are one of those gold nuggets that we keep coming back to because they're so agile, they're so useful in our workplaces. So SMART goals is where we want to use in terms of delegation and analysing the quality of work that we would like to see from our teams. So what are your thoughts on that? I'm just going to pause. Okay. So I'm going to go over this quite quickly because you've done very well this morning. I am going to start my next lesson recapping this, okay? So we've got 5 forms of communication in the workplace. We've got verbal, non-verbal, written, visual, and listening. Listening is often the one that people miss out. My granny used to say, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, stop talking, Ciara, and listen more. So these are the 5 that we want to concentrate on, and often we don't really. What I would say is 55% of workplace communication is based on non-verbal. Okay, so that's quite scary. 38% is on tone, and the rest is on the words. So you will communicate more with your body and the tone of your voice than you were with the words that you're saying. For every hour I teach, the average amount of information you will take in and retain is 15 minutes. So these are the different types of communication that we need to be aware of. This is Argyll. I haven't put the title up there. Argyll, 1967, his communication cycle, okay? When an idea occurs, so I have the aim to get discount vouchers from my cousin who works in We Are Vertigo, okay, for skydiving. So I want to get that. That's my aim. I know that my cousin won't respond to me on text or WhatsApp, and if I ring him, he won't answer. So the only reason I have Snapchat is that if I put that message in a snap with a picture of a dog, I understand that he will receive it the way I need him to receive it. So then I send the message via Snap. So I've thought about the theory. I'm using the medium I'm using is Snapchat, and then he receives the message. Okay, so I know he's going to receive the message because if I sent it by text or WhatsApp, he wouldn't open the message. So the message is then received, and then this is where it's decoded. So what we mean by that is we send out communication of every sort, and we send it out in the way that we understand it. the medium we want to use. An effective leader turns that round. We use the receiver as the focus of our communication. So we need them to understand what we need from them. This also filters into delegation, empowerment, and motivation. So if I said to you, I'm just going to talk at you in front of a blackboard for 3 hours once a month and nothing else, that's great. But the likelihood I'll have any students left, or you won't be bored out of your brain, or you won't go on and do another qualification, or you drop out is fairly high. So my aim is, and I will continue to say this through this course, that if I've communicated something and you're not sure about it, my job is to look into that further. And my job is to support you to understand that, not the other way around. Okay. So my cousin will decode it. So he goes, oh, Ciara, right. Obviously she wants discount on indoor skydiving. And, but he knows that if I send a photo of my dog, then he'll look at Toby's eyes, and he quite likes me because we're good friends as well as cousins. And then he understands the message. Yeah, I'll reply to her and say, right, phone me, or I'll tell my manager X, Y, and Z. So that's like a real life version of Argyle's communication cycle. You will come across Argyle's communication cycle quite a lot in leadership and management. And it's all really about the message being understood the way I intend it. And that is the stages that we need to look at to make sure that happens. So if I have an idea and I don't code it properly, I don't send it in the right way, it's not received in the right way, it's not decoded in the right way, it won't be understood. So if I'm trying to give instructions to do with a patient, for example, and I don't communicate that effectively to the person and that is ability, that is written or verbal, that is, maybe it's a stressful situation. There's lots of challenges to communication. But then if something goes wrong and I haven't effectively communicated that, I need to review that and see what happened there and why I need to change maybe how I communicate with that individual. Now, of course, this is theory and it's not possible all of the time, but like all of these theories, we want to be aware of it so we become a better effective leader. This is just some around the barriers. So it's just explaining Argyle's communication cycle a wee bit more. And here is how the communication cycle can go wrong. So the idea occurs, the message is coded incorrect or vague, it's inaudible, illegible, inappropriate means the message is received, not heard, seen, or read improperly. The message is decoded, i.e. the wrong language, the wrong VC is understood, verbal communication, and then the message isn't communicated effectively. So these are the kind of things that when we use Argyle's communication cycle, we're looking at how it would, if it goes wrong, what are the business implications for that? How does it affect our team? How does it affect our profitability, productivity, morale, motivation? It's all of these things that we want to look at if we don't understand these theories and apply them where we can. So that is a very quick run through of